Welcome to another Zentegra video demo. My name is Pete Downing. I'm the director of the Northeast region here at Zentegra. You can see my email and feel free to follow me on Twitter at TechDudeInc. Hey everybody. Today I'm going to show you a demonstration of the IGEl Universal Desktop Converter tool, aka the UDC3. Now there's two processes in order to get this done. The first way you can do it is through the deployment appliance or the UDC deployment appliance. I'm going to show that in another video. Today I'm going to focus on the manual process. So I'm going to build out a USB key. I'm going to show you how to install it on a laptop, and then I'm going to bring that laptop under management. So as you can see here, I have my folder unzipped, and you can see that I have a prepared stick.executable. I got an ISO here that shifts with the download bits, and then I have a PDF for those who like to read the manual. You can also open up the PDF and follow along, and it tells you step by step on how to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the pre-prepare stick.executable, and that's going to bring up the following dialog. And you can see that I already have a USB key plugged in, and I am already pointed to my ISO file. So you can see, it sees the ISO file in your folder, and it sees the USB stick. So this is a handy little tool that comes shipped with the UDC3. It's nice because you don't have to rely on a third party to put it onto a USB stick. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to click on Start Writing Process. And it's going to bring up a dialog that says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, we're sure. And it's going to go through a process of creating the partition and getting the device ready to build the UDC3 boot USB. And this process takes about 2 to 3 minutes, 3 minutes being high, 2 minutes being low. And it might be faster if you have a faster USB device, but generally it takes about 2 to 3 minutes. And once you do this, you're all set, and you can plug it into your laptop and build out your UDC clients. Now, what's the point of this? The point is, well, I can take this and turn any device in my enterprise into a thin client. It's pretty snazzy, and if you think about it, what this does is extends the life of any PC in your organization, and you can also go bold and convert some of the friendly competitors to thin clients. It's pretty cool for that regard. So you can actually bring current thin clients you might own under IGEl, and you can bring some outdated PCs under IGEl, and you can even bring newer PCs under IGEl. So it's a pretty cool tool, and it's a good way to get universal management across your enterprise. So like I said, this process takes about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to let this go through the process. I'll fast forward the video so you don't have to sit here for 2 minutes and watch this, and we'll come back at the end of the completion. So let's sit back and let this thing take its course. All right, so here we are almost about 2 minutes later, and this thing is just finishing up, and there you go. It's all set and ready to go. So you can see it takes, like I said, about 2 to 3 minutes. 3 minutes on the high side, maybe a little longer if you have an older USB stick. But again, it's as simple as that. That's how you can create the USB stick to install the UDC3 onto a laptop. And next, I'll show you how that process goes, and I'll have to get creative with my cameramanship, and I will show you that process in the next video.
All right, everybody, so next up, we're going to take the USB stick that we just built on the computer and actually build out a UDC3 device. So as you can see here, I got a very typical device that you may find in the enterprise. In this example, I got a old ThinkPad T430S. It's Intel based. It was geared to run Windows 7. If I were going to put an age on this, I would say it's about 5 years old. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my USB key and I'm going to plug it into the USB port. Now, I already went into the BIOS and set up the BIOS to boot from USB. So just bear in mind that if you are going to do this, you either need to hit enter or escape or F12 to boot from the USB. But the best thing is to probably put the boot order to have a USB HDD first in the boot order. So then I'm going to turn on the laptop, and you're going to see it's going to boot up. So it's a good old ThinkPad. And as this thing boots up, you're going to see the install screen. So you have a couple different options here. You got verbose mode, VESA only, but we're just going to do the basic install. So you see the UDC installation. Hit enter, and you're now able to, we're going to log in, and you're going to see this come up. It takes a couple minutes, not about 30 seconds to get to the install screen. And you can see this looks similar to the UD Pocket. So what we're going to do is we are going to hit English. And as you can see, if I do the drop down here, there's plenty of language options. So it is localized. We're going to select English here. And it brings you to something similar to the UD Pocket. Now in this case, this is to install the UDC, the Universal Desktop Converter. And this is just a little, agreement, if you agree, a little licensing agreement. So you hit yes. And then it brings up the little install firmware dialog. Now, very, very simple dialog. I'm just going to go in. But before I do, you can actually go in and edit the settings. Now, if you were doing one-off installs, you could actually go in here, set up a Citrix receiver, maybe turn on a browser, things like that. But because I'm using the Universal Management Suite from IGEl, I don't need to do that. I'm going to show you how to bring this under management once we're done. So I'm going to hit OK on this, and I'm going to say install firmware. And it's going to go in, and it's going to do the firmware install. Now, this takes a few minutes, and as it goes through the process, I'll sit here, and I may speed it up for you guys, but I'm going to sit here and let it go through the process, and if needed, we can do a little fast forward for the video. So let's wait and see. All right, so as you can see, it's pretty much done now, and all we need to do is we're going to do a reboot. But before we do, I'm going to take out the USB key. So I'm going to unplug that, and I'm going to go reboot. And I'm going to hit close because I just did that. And this is now going to reboot, and you're going to see this reboot into an IGEl thin client. And there you go. So you've taken a older machine, you plugged in a USB key, and you converted it into a thin client. And as this thing boots, you're going to see it's a typical IGEl interface, similar to the UD Pocket if you played with that. And that is it. So I've just, in a matter of about 3 minutes, converted an old x86, x64 device into an IGEl thin client. Next, I'm going to take this and put it under management using the IGEl Universal Management Suite. Old Lenovo that I had laying around here, and converted it to a UDC3 thin client. And now I got to get it under management. So, as you can see here, I have the IGEl Universal Management Suite opened up. And if you click on the top, you can see there's a cool little feature here called Scan for Thin Clients. So we're actually going to scan for a thin client. I have the machine I just built plugged into the network, and I'm going to do a scan. So I'm going to just say local network and do a scan. And it's going to sit there and go out and scan, and hopefully it will find our thin client. So as this scans, basically it's going out and it's trying to find any IGEl-based thin clients that's out on your local area network. And as you can see, hey, it found it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click on Include, and we're going to hit OK. And that's going to register the thin client to the IGEl Universal Management Studio. And once it finishes doing that, you should see it pop up in the list. And there it is. So now this management thin client is now under management. Now what we can do next is I have a base profile here that I built out. And in this base profile, I have configured everything from Citrix. So, for example, if I go under sessions, I've configured a Citrix session. So if I go under here and click on the storefront and go to server, I've set up my Citrix server. I've also set up browser access under the browser, and I've also set up network. So if you go under the network interface, I've also set up the wireless interfaces. So if I go under wireless, there is a default wireless setup as well. So, and you can see that here. All right, so if I hit save and I go in here and I, again, click on this and I say plus, I can apply the base profile. And then I also have some certificates that I want to assign. So, I'll assign these just because they're for Citrix access. I hit OK, and it's going to update my client. So with that, the client is now fully managed and under the management of the IGEl Universal Management Suite. So just to quickly summarize, what I've done is, in the matter of the time it took to build out the USB key, the time it took to install it, and then the time it took to do a scan, in less than 10 minutes, we have now brought an old device under management into IGEl and turned it into a thin client.
All right, so let's jump on the device and just take a quick look and see what it looks like after we bring it under management. So I'm going to use Type VNC to connect into the UDC3 device that I just converted. And yeah, just a little side note, you can use any type of VNC connector to remote into any of the hosts. The person, your user, would need to be on the other side to accept the connection, but VNC can help you with management. And then from within the console, you can also right click and shadow a session, just as a friendly FYI. So I'm going to connect to my session. I'm going to hit accept client access on the client, and that's going to bring up my window. So what I'll do is drag that here, and you can see that the client is now connected. And I'm going to full screen it just so you can see it from a full screen perspective. And you can see that, the things I showed you, the Wi-Fi is configured. I got my Citrix and my browser configured. Now the cool thing with the browser is if I close the browser, it's going to auto launch. So I set it up to do an auto launch, and if I log in, I can see my storefront. So this is good if you're trying to create a consistent environment for your end user, on the thin client, so to force them to potentially connect to, a storefront setting. And then also you can incorporate the Linux receiver into the thin client, and you can put your password in, log in, and it's going to incorporate the icons right onto the desktop. So you're able to give the user a pretty seamless experience. And again, I literally took a 3 to 5 year old device and I converted it into a thin client within a matter of 5 minutes, and I had it under management under the Universal Management Studio, and I was able to manage and configure the device remotely. So the UDC3, if you're interested, contact us more and leave some comments in the blog. Again, my name is Pete Downing. I'm the director of the Northeast region for Zentegra. Feel free to pop me an email or follow me on Twitter. Also, leave some comments below on how you think this demo was.